Renew is a 3-part program to help leaders lead with confidence. It starts by helping leaders review a situation that maybe has impacted on them, then to reframe what has happened and to understand it differently, and to rebuild a new way forward. This video is the 3rd one, where we're going to look at how you rebuild yourself, take the situations you've been through and use them for confident things to help you move forward rather than as something that holds you back. Did you know that you're an artist? Maybe you didn't. Now, if I was to say that to myself, I probably would laugh, because actually if you saw some of my drawings, some of my sketches, let's call them rudimentary if nothing else. But I'm not talking here about the ability to use a pencil or a paintbrush. There's a guy called Seth Godin. I really like his work. He actually started around marketing and understanding brand was where he started from. But he talks a lot around leadership. And one of the things he talks about is he says artists make change happen. He says it's not limited to museums. It's not limited to art galleries. Artists make change happen. In his latest book, he talks about a Turkish phrase, askide ekmek. Now, apologies if you're Turkish and I've got all that pronunciation incorrect, but the principle of it, the translation is bread on the hook. He talks about the fact there's a cultural thing in bakers that when you go and buy your loaf of bread, you can pay for another loaf of bread and ask for it to be placed on the hook. And it is then there for anybody that needs that bread, for anybody that will find that valuable, will find that useful, will help them when they have no money to buy the basics of bread. And he talks about the fact that this is like us. We bring our art, we bring the things that we're good at, we bring our leadership, we bring our vision, our passion, and we place it on the hook. We place it there for anyone that might find it useful. You see, for some of us, when we've been through a difficult situation, it might leave us feeling a little bit bitter, a little bit unhappy with what's happening to us. And it can create this sense where it holds us back. And when we see those things as nothing but pain, as nothing but a failure moment, indeed it can do that. It can hold us back. But if we begin to see this as part of our story, if we begin to see it not as a binary pass-fail moment, but as something that can actually be something that can be quite strong in our leadership. It can actually be a piece of art. It can actually be an offering that we can bring as part of our leadership and to those that we're working with. Now, let me give you another example to help you understand this. There's a phrase, a Japanese phrase called kintsugi, and it's used to describe the way that they repair bowls or can repair bowls. You see, if you're like me, if you drop a bowl, perhaps these days we just get a bit cross and put it in the bin. Or maybe if it was a particular bowl or plate of value, what we might do is try and glue it, but glue it so that you just can't see that this was never broken. You want it to look whole, you want it to look clean and pristine, just like it was. But what the Japanese do is they mix their glue with some gold or some platinum. And therefore the glue stands out. And when they glue the bits of the bowl or the plate together, the gold or the platinum stands out. And actually, if you can see a kintsugi bowl, if you Google it and look it up, you'll see actually they are a thing of beauty. Their scars, the damage actually becomes a thing of beauty. And that's an important thing for us as leaders, if we've been through difficult things, to use them instead as things of beauty. And so this Renew series, in fact, that we're looking at has come out of, in one sense, the scar, the difficulty that I had. You'll know from video 1 and video 2, I talked about my ending as a head teacher. It wasn't planned. I was asked to leave. And I remember at the time feeling, oh gosh, this is going to really stuff me up as I try and now develop a leadership company. Who's going to want to be part of or be involved with a leadership company where someone was asked to leave? But actually what I've found is those difficulties, those scars can help others. And this series has come from me reflecting on the fact that actually I could use my story as something of beauty. I could use this to create a program that will help other leaders also who've been through that, will help them to review what happened, to reframe it, and to rebuild themselves moving forward. And I think there are 4 steps as we rebuild ourselves. The first thing is to go back and look at, what is my purpose here? What are my values? The second is to recognize, what are my strengths? And what is it that makes up me and how I can use them? The third part is saying to yourself, what story do I want to tell going forward? Do I want this to be a story of loss and of failure? Or do I want this to be a story of phoenix from the ashes? And the fourth part is to just begin to take that first step. So let me just talk those 4 steps through with you. The first one, your purpose and your values. You see, I've discovered that for me, my purpose is to inspire and equip others. And I know that my values are about integrity and authenticity. And so once I know what those are, I use those in the way that I operate. But it also has helped me to recognize, that's maybe why I found that situation so difficult, because it rubs with the values that I had. The second part then, thinking about your strengths and your values. You see, I know that one of my strengths is a maximizer. And what I've realized as I rebuild myself and move forward, that if I don't have particular highs and lows, but if I'm feeling a bit flat and I reflect, it's because I'm not working out some of my strengths or my purpose as much. I'm not spending as much time maximizing, and maximizing is taking something that's okay and making it really good. And so I know I need to then spend more time doing those things. So as you rebuild yourself, it's about saying, what are my strengths? If I'm feeling a bit flat, am I putting them into operation? And so it starts by obviously getting clarity on those things and that understanding. The third one, around what story do I want to write? I remember at the time of that difficulty, at the time of being asked to leave, I remember thinking, gosh, this is awful. I felt obviously not good at all. But one of the mantras that I had at the time was, what story do I want to write? I maybe have had my job taken from me. I maybe have had an element of my reputation taken from me. But what story do I want to write now? Because I don't want them to take away my story, and I don't want them to take away actually who I am. And so having that mantra of what story do I want to write is key also for rebuilding yourself moving forward. What do I want to write? And therefore, let's write it. The fourth part is just begin. Begin. There can be this sense of, I want certainty though. I want to know I've got it all in place before I move forward. There is, though, a sense that when we seek certainty, what it does is it robs us of opportunity, because we're spending so much time trying to land this certainty and therefore never moving forward. Now, it's important, of course, to plan and to think things through. But if we start to see this as a journey, a first step of discovery that things might not go exactly to plan, but what can I learn from this? Then actually we start to make that movement. We start to, if you remember my story earlier about Askida Rekmek, if I start to put my bread on the hook, I start to see who's interested in it. You see, when we're moving forward, when we're stepping out of this comfort zone that we have, the first thing is to move into our golden zone. It's the bit just outside our comfort zone, to step into the little things that actually I could just stretch myself on. And then just take that first step towards it. So try those 4 steps. But I've got 3 questions to ask yourself as well as you begin to rebuild. And the first one is, what is my purpose and what are my strengths? Really review that. And we'll have looked at that if you've been part of this program as part of the coaching, and hopefully you've got some clarity on that. The second question is, what is it that I actually have on offer for people? What is the bread that I'm putting on the hook? What is the thing that actually, when they experience me leading them, that they'll come away with? And the third question is, what does my first step look like? What's the first step that I could take to begin this journey of rebuilding? And that is often the most difficult step to take. And so if you ask yourself, what is my first step? Then just go and take it. So we've looked over these 3 videos at reviewing your situation. What did actually happen? Reframing it to get a clearer perspective, and now rebuilding yourself, actually to see what's happened, not as a binary pass-fail, but as a key part that you can use for good in your story, taking it forward, and gain clarity actually on who am I, what do I bring to others as I rebuild my leadership.